Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Thread of Thoughts podcast. I am your host, Tia. I've been really pressed to talk about this topic today because it's just really been on my mind heavy. And actually, these past few days, no, this entire year, actually, I've been really back and forth about my opinion on routine. And I just truly don't know if I like it or not. I thought it would be great to start this episode off with just providing a few reasons why I don't have a routine right now. So let's just hop into that. So first, as much as I want to stick to a routine, I truly prefer to move based on my energy and how I feel in the present moment. Therefore, if I create a routine, right, and the routine in the schedule says at 7 p.m. I need to work on my schoolwork, but in the moment, I feel more called to shave and fully exfoliate my body and do a face mask, then that is most likely what I will lean towards. Now, I know it sounds irresponsible. And not only does it sound irresponsible, it is irresponsible, and it's incredibly irresponsible. And it truly is rare for my energy to be called towards things that are a priority and those things that require responsibility, right? What sounds more fun and requires less brain work and just less depths of thinking is typically what I'd like to opt into. There have been times when I knew I needed to focus on something important, but instead, my family says they want to have a family movie night. And what do? I go have a family movie night. I go participate in that because I believe that family time is important and I value it 100%. But what I've also come to realize is that each time I don't complete something that is highly important and may result in consequences, I am placing myself in a state of procrastination. I am placing myself in a state of avoidance. I am placing myself in a state of where I will have to deal with the consequences that come from that. And this all circles back to my lack of discipline. I talk about this a lot. I have discipline in certain areas of my life, but not all. Now, before I actually get into the next reason why I don't have a routine currently, I mentioned procrastination, and that's something that I really want to touch on because I know we have all encountered a battle with procrastination before. And I think we tend to view it very surface level. And what I've learned recently is that procrastination is not laziness. It's just not. It really is not. There is an emotional weight driven behind procrastination. For me personally, I know I procrastinate when I don't feel confident. And then I begin to anticipate failure. And in a sense, it's like because I don't want to experience the feeling of failure, which is normal, I begin to believe there's no purpose in beginning the task or even seeing it through, right? It's almost like I procrastinate to escape those negative feelings of the task, only for me to have those negative feelings surface from not completing the task, if that makes sense. Like, it's just different. It's just different. I also procrastinate if I'm not in the right headspace. If I'm already in a state of feeling overwhelmed or stressed, I'm more than likely to draw back on a certain task, right? For me right now, I have 2 10-page papers that are due tomorrow, actually. 2 10-page papers. That's a total of 20 pages. I have not started either one of them. And once again, it's the anticipation of the failure, not feeling confident. I also think it just really depends on what is a priority to you. Though I'm in school, I don't feel it as a priority. I don't feel school is a priority. On a much larger scale, I know it is, but in my personal life and on my personal journey and just with where I am mentally, it's not. My priorities are what makes me feel good right now. And not just in a sense of quick gratification and fulfillment either, but things that are just much, much more meaningful is priority for me right now. Anyways, back to the reasons I don't have a routine. So on the other hand, when I'm not procrastinating somewhat, this is still procrastination. Moving based on my energy feels like I'm putting myself first. It feels like I'm listening to my body and I'm listening to my energy. Again, it all depends on the situation. Like, if I know I have schoolwork due, but my mind and my energy calls to work on my podcast because I know that zoning in on my podcast will bring me joy and create magnificent results, I'm going to work on the podcast while I have that energy. Because I know there will be a time where that energy and that drive and that motivation isn't at a level of intensity, at a certain level of intensity. And though I know it will come back, it's like, when? In 2 months? Then there's 2 months with no content. It's sort of like I have to catch the energy while I have it, if that makes sense. And in a sense, that's still procrastination because I'm just putting off another task to do another task. Anyways, this is just, it's crazy. Another reason I don't have a routine is because I'm fearful that I would get extremely bored of it. Just like that SpongeBob episode when Squidward finally got to live in the neighborhood with all the squids. And though he was participating in doing the activities in which he enjoyed, it became repetitive. And each day started to feel the same. And eventually he became depressed. And I just don't want that for me. I just really don't. And I do think that, too, when you have a routine, you can definitely switch some things up. Like maybe you can go, instead of doing your schoolwork from home, go to the library, go to a coffee shop or something like that. You can switch up your route to work, your commute. You can switch up just something so it doesn't feel so repetitive and that each day is a duplicate of the one before. Another thing is, with the way my circumstances are, anything could pop up to just throw me off for the day. But this is also where it's so important to set boundaries and have some sort of balance when it comes to these sorts of things. I'll actually give you guys an example. There was one day where I said, okay, this is a Tia day. Like, this is a Tia day. This is a day that is all for me. I'm going to tend to what I have to tend to. I'm going to do what my energy says. All of that. I plan to work on my podcast, stretch and meditate, read, just really tap into myself and my crafts and my outlets. And then what happens? My phone rings. And it's my sister. And she calls me and tells me that she ran out of gas. So as a good sister, and actually not even as a good sister, because even if I chose to not do this, that doesn't make me a bad sister. But either way, I go to help her. And then I begin to feel bad because I was putting myself second. I didn't set any boundaries. I didn't stick to my schedule for that day. I was really upset, actually. I was happy to help her, but I was really upset that I didn't do what I needed to do for me. In general, life is unpredictable when it comes to yourself. It just is. But it's important to understand that another person's situation is not your obligation, especially if it's not someone you're responsible for. Okay? Write that down. Write that down. Write that down, because listen, another person's situation is not your obligation. All right. I feel like a lot of people close to me would be really confused as to why I can't stick to a routine. I don't have any kids or pets or anything like that. And as a person who can be controlling, a bit controlling, I think having a routine could be beneficial for me because I believe a lot of people prefer to have a routine to feel in control of something, to feel in control of their life. I think that with having a plan just about anything in life, you will feel more in control. Having a routine, I know for sure, would reduce stress, increase productivity. And also with implementing a healthy routine, it can potentially lead to developing healthy habits. Right. Now, that's something that I actually want to talk about for a second is routines and habits and what the difference is. Because both include the same persistent actions, but routines have a bit more awareness behind them, while habits are pretty much automatic, right? Therefore, let's say if my routine includes me making my bed at 6 a.m. every morning, I want that to become a habit where it's an automatic for me to do so. That's a healthy habit. But not every routine needs to be a habit. So definitely remember that, okay? Especially if you don't have a healthy routine, like if it's not the healthiest right now, you don't want that to be a thing where it's carried out into unhealthy habits. Now, what does creating a routine look like? Okay. I don't have one, but I've attempted. I should really be practicing more than I preach, but just hear me out because this is what I've learned from at least trying. Okay. So first, make sure you have a clear mind before you create your routine. Okay. Make sure you have a clear mind because the next thing you want to do is to do a brain dump. Think about everything that you have to do daily, whether it's work, picking up the kids, taking out the dog, creating content, cooking, whatever it is, write it all down. Write it all down. I think it's important too to write down the things that you actually want to implement. If you want to start going to the gym, if you want to start, I don't know, going to yoga class, I don't know, write that all down. Now, once you do that, I want you to get specific regarding the time frames these tasks will fall under. So boom, 5 a.m. is the gym, 7 a.m. is work, 5 p.m. is class, 6 p.m. is dinner. This really helps narrow things down. And if you have a big task that you normally complete and it's just daunting, but a frequent thing that needs to get done, complete it in smaller tasks. For example, if you know for one class specifically that you have to write a paper each week, maybe your routine and schedule can say that every day at 1 p.m., you need to spend an hour to complete at least one page of this paper until it's finalized. Okay? Something like that. Also, insert time for breaks, rest, naps. Don't outdo yourself. Don't overwhelm yourself. Just don't drain yourself. Okay? And then my last tip when it comes to creating a routine is to try it out. If it all works out day 1 and not day 2, that's fine. Try again on day 3. Just really, really don't beat yourself up about it. It's really, really important to find what it is that will help you get things done and stick to it on a daily basis. It might be a podcast that gets you just up and moving, right? For me, if I have to clean, I'm turning on a YouTube video of someone else cleaning. That's just how it works for me. Or you might find that you need to find ways to romanticize those daunting tasks. For me, I like sitting on a high stool bar at like a high counter with some sort of cute drink and my laptop, and I'm getting my work done. And I also turn my phone off a lot. Removing those distractions really, really help. But find what works for you. And once you do that, it will be much easier to stick it through, to have that routine, to stay consistent with that routine. And if you wanted to lead to those healthy habits, it will. All right. That is all I got today. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank y'all for listening. I really, really do always appreciate it. Always. Make sure you guys follow, listen, and subscribe on Spotify, Anchor, and Apple Podcasts. And also be sure to follow the podcast Instagram at Thread of Thoughts Pod. And as always, we'll talk soon.